great. I'll just sit over here. Actually, yeah, just as an introduction, I worked in corporate social responsibility, corporate philanthropy for about 10 years. And then went and set up People and Planet, which is an independent philanthropy advisory business, with my business partner in Los Angeles in the States and me running Asia out of Hong Kong. I think that I'm just going to segue into TEDx and Ginseng just with this little story. The clients that we work with are mainly family foundations and high net worth individuals that have an idea about what they want to do philanthropically, but don't really know how to structure their programs and what charities to work with and how to measure impact and things like that. So that's how we help our clients. And we came across a couple of families. One in particular was a G5 family here in Hong Kong, originally from China, from Ningbo. And the fifth generation were just coming out of college in the States, and they'd come to the the quarterly philanthropy meeting, and they'd sort of say, why are we still philanthropic gift giving when we can be leveraging our philanthropic dollar by putting it into a social enterprise, then recouping that a couple of years later and putting it into something else, and effectively recycling this money rather than just handing it over as a philanthropic gift, which is very old school. And that was a couple of years ago, and I've since we have a family in Singapore, just a youthful family, but kids are in college. They'll be coming out in a few years, and they're already saying, we know that the kids, we want to get them involved in social enterprises. So the foundation they'd set up, they rewrote the memorandum and articles of association to say we're not going to be a philanthropic gift giving, we're going to be a social enterprise incubator or something like that. So it was at that point that I went to my good friend Ming Wong, who most of you probably know. And Ming was a social investors club back then, and the model that he was using was 10 investors. I don't know, we may even have one or two in the room, I'm not sure. 10 investors put in 100,000 Hong Kong dollars, they had $1 million, and with that they went and looked at social enterprise deals to invest in. And I said to Ming, I've got 100,000, can I play? I'd like to do that, it's interesting. And he said, no, it's not working because we fight amongst each other and nothing gets done. And I said, well, why don't you, maybe we should just flip that and say, why don't you go for crowdfund style social enterprise club and get a lot of people interested and a lot of people coming along, and we kind of kept talking, and over a year kind of started taking shape. Really great people like Michelle Lai came on board, and between her and Ming they started what is now called Giinseng, which is an acronym for Greater China Impact Investing Social Social Enterprise Networking Group. Ginseng, hey. And if you know Ming Wong, then you'll know that the catchphrase "root for good" is Ming's little humor. Yeah. Anyway, so it's kind of developed now. We've got Chris Fisher in the room tonight, our chairman, and we've gone through a soft launch this year, and we're sort of moving through into starting to look at the deal flow. And basically, what we're trying to do is, instead of investing 100,000 Hong Kong dollars, we're looking for a smaller amount where people come in, they join the club. It's a not-for-profit organization, obviously. The funds go into a pool of money. We then look at startup social enterprises with a view to sponsor them at early stages. So we get to know about what is in their mind, how they're structuring their social enterprise. So we're learning by doing the investments in these organizations. Learning by doing. So we've got a core team of 10 or 15 members. We're all founding members because we're all there from the start, and long nights and arguments and lots of spare time and effort put into this. But the beauty about Ginseng is that we take anybody that wants to be involved. You don't have to be a banker. We've got lots of bankers that help us with all of the appraisals and all of that. We need events people, we need marketing people, we need website developers, we need all sorts, because that's what we've got a committee for everything. And we need people in these committees to keep the momentum of ginseng flowing. So we've got deal flow coming through already. We've got members flowing through already, so we're underway. One of the common denominators with some of the speakers tonight is that we're all involved with, we've all been involved in some shape or form with TEDxWanChai. And just probably a little bit of a plug for TEDx, but it's all connected because TEDxWanChai is also a not-for-profit organization, and it's just taken on a life of its own. We had our first, it was originally called TEDxWanChai, which is where my office is, but the Hong Kong Arts Centre came on board as a co-founder, if you like, and they said, use our premises free of charge, we love what you're doing. And I said, great, we're going to change it to TEDxWanChai because that's where the Hong Kong Arts Centre is. From there, our first couple of TEDx's were about social impact and charitable impact, until Ted wrote me a stern note saying, you mean to say all of your speakers are founders of non-profits? And I said, well, kind of, yeah, there's a few social enterprises. And he said, well, you're being discriminatory to other great ideas out there, so stop doing that. So we operated under Ideas Empowered was the theme for this year. And probably will be similar for next year again. But so we just get people with great ideas. We get people to sponsor the venue, the event itself. It's again a not-for-profit, but it's amazing when you start something that's a good idea, whether it's a TEDxWanChai or whether it's a Ginseng, that it takes on a life of its own. It gets big quite quickly, and you think, wow, what have we done? We've got something going here, and you just have to keep moving with it. So we always say, think about an idea, talk about it with friends, kick a few things around, because you never know what you're going to end up with, and it's a really exciting process.
Could you help us understand? I mean, I think it's become a bit of a catchphrase, but I'm not sure everybody really understands what is a social enterprise and what does that actually mean, and how do you decide which companies would be justified as a social enterprise?
Yeah, so we're immersed in this every day, and so we just assume the whole world knows what a social enterprise is. I think the best way to explain it is that it looks and operates like a for-profit in terms of it has a product or service which it sells, people buy it, but at the last stage of that is that the profits are not extracted out of the organization, that they get churned back into operating the business. So in Hong Kong, the government have deemed there's two kinds of companies. There's a for-profit company and there is a not-for-profit company. So social enterprises don't fit in with the government definition per se. So they call it a for-profit, but actually there isn't a net cash out of the organizations. It gets churned into operating expenses. So what's a good example locally? Dialogue in the Dark is a social enterprise. There's a few. There's actually at TEDxWanChai 2011. Darius Yuan from So Asia was our opening speaker, but we had a guy, Ted Kwan from Salon. From a social enterprise that basically trained repeat offenders or youth, drug rehab youth, to be a hairdresser, and then employed them for 2 years, and then found them a job outside of the organization. Fullness Salon, and a really great, flying low, beneath the radar, just getting great stuff done. And you see them throughout the community in Hong Kong. So they're here to stay. They're good ideas, and they work really well. We look at a social enterprise by how solid they look in terms of their structure, how they're capitalized, their business plan. We kind of have a marking score sheet for it. Which is a little bit private and confidential because it's kind of our IP in a way, and it's constantly being refined. But for us, we don't give grants, but that may be an option later. We like to invest in an organization with a view that we can withdraw the same funds 2 years later, so after they've got themselves up and running. So that's how we operate.
And for an investor, you guys are building a team of people who want to be impact investors. For them, what's the difference of, say, giving to charity or versus being involved in something like Giinseng, which is actually, like you said, is investing into these enterprises? What's the difference for them? And would you say that this is potentially more exciting?
Yeah, so you know, it takes all kinds of people to make this world go around. I think that we're seeing, you know, perhaps again from an independent philanthropy advisory perspective, we think everybody, if they're presented with a choice of supporting a social enterprise or versus a pure non-profit, a pure for-profit, then they will err on the social enterprise side because it just feels good for them. It feels right. So it's really anecdotal evidence, and it's sort of bit sort of obvious, but that's how we feel, and that's pretty much how I think it is. That's not to say that there's good quality products sold, you know, via for-profits, and people will continue to buy them. It's pure, you know, the supply and demand. But where possible, people will look to help a social enterprise.
And do you think, I mean, certainly, and we heard at our last Fat Night a little bit about some of the changes that are happening in the marketplace, and specifically, I mean, we're going to hear in just a bit from Cassandra about Emmy and Eve, but it's just, we're starting to see sort of a trend of consumers who actually are attracted to products that they feel like have a social impact or have an environmental impact. And I just wonder if that's going to change the way that everything happens. If it's whether it's investing, whether it's the way business, whether it's the way companies are set up. I mean, you were involved, of course, with Credit Suisse, and you're already starting to see some of those. The bigger companies are saying we need to be giving back because people care about it. And how would you say that that's changing the way that maybe social enterprises function?
Okay, well, you know, you're asking the right guy the obvious question, or maybe I'm the wrong guy, because I kind of believe in corporate social responsibility, just as for engaging staff and attracting staff, and for public relations and communications. It just all makes sense. So for me, I think companies should have a CSR platform. So once you get through that, you know, but you keep in mind. I actually would like to put the question back to you. So I've seen Phatrice, I've seen your product portfolio, and it has a social conscience behind it, right? So we'll hear from Xian of Delight. You've got the Dopper bottles, drink bottles. You've got many things. So obviously you are thinking more that this is where the market will be going. It's where you're spending your time looking at products and services. So do you think the market's there? You know, we're in a free market in Hong Kong. If you don't have a good product priced right and is timely, then you won't sell, right? It's pure market. It's a beautiful market here. So you obviously see the opportunity with Phatrice products. How big do you think it can get?
I thought that was asking him questions. I didn't know it was going to come back at me. But, well, I'll just make a quick comment. And just the reason that I asked the question, too, is because I think it's a question a lot of people are asking. Is they're starting to say, they're seeing companies like Tom Shoes, which, you know, free plug. Companies like Tom Shoes, you know, and others are really starting to actually have market appeal. Not just because of the social side, but also because it is a good product, right? But a lot of it because of maybe the social aspect or the environmental aspect. And so we are seeing a bit of a change, and we heard a bit about that at our last Fat Night. So we are seeing that, but I think that the question is, where is that going? And really, when we talk about a lot of companies, I think the CSR maybe side of things, it's almost like a bolt-on. It's like we do this. We're a bank, or we're you know, a large enterprise. We do this, but we also want to have that conscience. So it's a little bit of an afterthought, if you will. Not that that makes it less important or anything, but we're starting to see some companies that are coming up that actually it's their first thought. They're actually saying, by having something that is marketable, having something that does appeal to the market, I can actually make the social part of it into the product, into what we're doing, and that can become marketable for itself. How large is it? I think it's still a bit of a niche, but potentially is growing. Do you see any of that? Do you see those things happening? And would you say the companies that Giinseng is interested in investing, is it more of that's the forefront, or would you say it is more of the bolt-on kind of model?
Yeah, okay. So we're seeing a lot more of this. Hong Kong Broadband Network, Nick Lai, talks about his talent, and about the people that make this company. And I'm giving him a plug. I don't know why, but he's a nice guy, and they got a great service, and and he's flying in the face of the other guys. And so I think that's what you mean. People are sort of it's built into the product or service, and I think that is the only way to go eventually.